Hi, welcome to the AnimeCons TV Year in Review episode. Every year we take a moment of the podcast and talk about our year, what we've done for the last year, our experiences, what works, what didn't work. And this time we're doing it over Google Hangouts because we're all in different places. So we've got Doug.
Yay!
Elizabeth.
Hey guys.
We got Gail.
Hello.
We have Shiva and Sketch. And I'm coming from Petaluma, California, where there's no
Boo.
You know you know it.
So this will be the same kind of format we've done the last few years. We've got the same sort of questions, and we'll start it off with the favorite convention moment of the year. Shiva and Sketch, what is your favorite moment?
Mine is when we were at Dragon Con, we actually decided to do a Peanuts group from Charlie Brown, and I did Lucy, and I had the actual cardboard cutout, like, psychiatric help booth. People started coming up to me and paying me to give them advice. I made like a few dollars because they kept giving me nickels, and it was so funny. People had the funniest questions.
We tried videotaping them, but the only ones we really got were not appropriate. I think my favorite one was at Katsucon. I was dressed up as Godric Gryffindor. Reusing a lot of costumes this year was a very light year for me. But I was walking down, and someone started screaming, and I'm like, what the hell? Why are they screaming? And they come running down an escalator. They thought I was a Lannister.
From Game of Thrones.
From Game of Thrones. At that point, I had never read anything, never watched it, never saw anything, had no idea what they were talking about, but apparently they thought I was a Lannister. I go to work, I tell people that, they're like, yeah, you actually make a convincing Lannister in that costume. That was pretty funny, so I like that.
Well, you did the lion design that you used for that. You gave that to me to use for my Cersei Lannister costume, so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, because someone else used it for a Gryffindor. It was the lion is very iconic in English medieval times, so it's been used a lot. It's very standard, so it's very easy to confuse them. But yeah, that was pretty fun.
And Gail, what about you?
I think my favorite convention moment of this whole year was I was a panelist at DragonCon, which was a whole lot of fun. I did 2 panels. One of them was a panel on cosplay safety or costuming safety, which is a panel I run myself at other conventions. And I learned a whole lot from the other panelists I worked with, which just was so amazing.
Cool. Elizabeth?
Mine was seeing how Boston Comic Con was able to bounce back from what they had to go through this year. So if people aren't aware, they were supposed to be the weekend after the Boston Marathon, and we all know what happened there. And originally it was supposed to go on as planned, but when they had the manhunt going on Friday, I'm pretty sure the convention center itself told them they had to, like, sorry, we can't have this event if no one can come into the city right now. They did end up having it again in August in a different location in the city, which I think worked better, which they're now going to be in the future, which I think works better. They're now going to be in the summer, which works better because they're not competing with PAX, and they're not competing with Anime Boston. And it's a great convention, and to see them still succeed despite facing a really crappy situation like that, I mean, what happened in the week was even worse. But that's like a con planner's nightmare, and they really just pulled it out. It was great to see.
It's why you buy. It's why you get an event insurance for stuff like that.
Yeah. And Doug, what about you? What was your favorite moment?
Hands down, the thing that stands out in my mind was going to the Yoko Kanno concert at Otakon this year. Specifically, when you had the entire room singing along as she did the song Gravity, which is the Wolf's Rain closer, and having everyone sing along with that is just like so awesome. And beyond just this year, it's definitely one of my all-time favorite convention moments.
Well, what was one of your least favorite moments, Doug?
And of course, this plays right back into what Elizabeth was saying. Was Because Boston Comic Con rescheduled, and I think a lot of people wanted to show their support for the event, the lines at Boston Comic Con this year were nuts. I mean, people were doing on-site only had like maybe an hour, 30 minutes, whereas if you did pre-registration, you were in the line for like 2 hours. And I know they're going to fix it, but it was really frustrating at the time, and it was another one of those instances of why did I even bother pre-regging?
Yeah. Elizabeth, did you have any least favorite moments?
Not really. No, this is a pretty good year, I must say. I do have a least favorite moment that kind of leads into next year. Not a fan of how PAX released their badges in hotels, but that's more of next year, but kind of fell into this year, and it sucked not getting a hotel nearby for this year, but for 2014, but whatever. No, this was a pretty good year, actually, for conventions. Nothing majorly bad happened.
Yeah, actually, that's a lot like my least favorite moment. Trying to get a hotel room for Dragon Con next year. It's always a pain in the ass, whether it was last year or this year. What's the name of the company?
I forget.
Yeah.
No, PAX uses On Peak.
The other one.
The other one.
I blocked it from my mind. I hate them so much. But yeah, actually, I forgot to give my favorite moment, which was Gallifrey 1. I was late at night. I was just wandering around, wandered into the karaoke room, and I happened to be there as a Dalek came in and then started doing karaoke. And it was amazing to see a Dalek in the Dalek voice. Somebody's holding a microphone up, and it's singing karaoke. And then, spoiler alert for second half of season 7, Clara Oswald gets out of the Dalek, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
What was the song?
Yeah. So, Gail, did you have a least favorite moment?
Yeah, another panel thing, actually. I got pretty badly trolled by an attendee at one of my panels at PortCon. It was a really, really rough moment, a big learning experience for me, and it was quite an experience.
Oh.
I remember that.
Yeah.
We all witnessed it.
That was bad.
That person wasn't going to be happy no matter what you said.
No, there was no solution to that.
But the silver lining of that was many of my fellow AnimeCons TV peers here were all on the panel with me and were very supportive.
Cool. Shiva, Sketch?
I mean, I agree with Elizabeth. It was a really good year. We didn't do a lot of cons this year, and there wasn't any one thing that was really awful. I think the only thing that I had that was bad is that it was completely circumstantial was when we went to Katsucon, and I was really excited to go this year because I'd never been before. I got massively sick like 2 days before we had to leave, and we almost didn't go, but we decided to go anyway, and I couldn't talk through the whole thing. And I had laryngitis, and I just felt miserable. But I pulled it out, and I managed to have a decently good time. But I met some people that, like, you know, we'd followed each other's work, cosplay online for years, and I finally got to actually physically meet them, and we couldn't say anything because I couldn't talk. So that was just personally frustrating. But otherwise, it was a pretty good year.
I got a lot of future husband brownie points that weekend.
Yeah, you did.
My worst part is being confused for a Lannister. No, it happened another time, and the person was just so crabby that I wasn't a Lannister for one, and two that I would want to cosplay an original version of a Harry Potter character. I was just like, I'm just gonna walk away now. It's like con etiquette.
You guys said that
smile.
You guys said that you weren't able to attend as many cons this year. How many conventions did you end up attending?
We only went to 3.
3.
Yep, that was it.
That was Katsucon, PortCon, and DragonCon.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been to all of those before. And don't forget WeddingCon. I mean, WeddingCon, really.
No, I've been to Katsucon ages ago when they weren't in the same facility, so it actually was almost like a new con for me, so that was a kind of a new con, but it was her first time ever going to Katsucon.
And Gail, how many conventions did you hit this year?
I actually made it to 7, which is sort of my high average for the past few years. 2 were new. I went to KatsuCon for the first time, and I stopped by Granite State Comic Con as well.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Well, Elizabeth recounts. How many did you hit up, Doug?
I actually hit 11. And my 3 new ones were Boston Comic Con, Granite State Comic Con, and Rhode Island Comic Con. So I apparently hit the Comic Con circuit a lot this year.
He likes comics.
Yeah, I do.
I hit.
It's weird. The only months I didn't go to a convention this year were April and December.
Wow.
Well, December's not over yet.
Yeah, maybe I can go find one. Well, I am going to one like right in the beginning of the new year. So.
New Year's Eve Con.
Christmas Con.
I went to 9 this year. One of them was virtual because I couldn't get tickets to BlizzCon, so I got the virtual pass and was watching all the stuff. I just wasn't physically there, so I don't know if that counts.
You're such a diehard.
I didn't know they did
They do their technical
Yeah.
band.
But 4 of them were new, and all of them were West Coast. There was Midnight Comic Fest, Japan Expo USA, Kraken Con, and Gallifrey 1. And oddly enough, Gallifrey 1, it was in California before I moved to California. Before I even knew I was moving to California. Elizabeth, what's your grand total?
Yeah, I went to 10. It would have been 12, except I had to cut Otakon and Kineticon out this year. My new ones were Granite State Comic Con, which I completely forgot about, so that shows what kind of con that was. And Rhode Island Comic Con. It was something special. It wasn't bad. And I just totally forgot that I went.
It's a very tiny event.
Comic-Con. It's not as flashy as the anime conventions a lot of us are used to.
Yeah.
We're used to flashing. And edit.
And so all of us wore costumes to a lot of these conventions, not all of them, but let's start with Doug. What was your favorite costume this year?
It was a leaner year for me for new stuff. I spent a lot of time upgrading things. But even though I probably wore it the least, my favorite was Muscle Princess from Adventure Time. Just because it was, for starters, it was completely ridiculous. But the people that recognized it, like, they did a double take and you just saw the jaws hit the floor. And the fact that I could find, like, blue vinyl boots with heels in my size for, like, $40, that's pretty amazing.
I'm pretty amazed that you walked in them.
For a while, too. I was really impressed. And you're welcome, by the way.
Elizabeth was the one who put that together and helped make me look completely ridiculous, including adding some, shall we say, enhancements.
Enhancements. Large tracts of land.
Basically.
Elizabeth?
I made slightly fewer costumes this year than previously, and not many of them are really complicated. I didn't like the most complicated one I made, which was Ash from League of Legends, unfortunately. But I really loved my Catelyn start costume from Game of Thrones. I actually made 3 Game of Thrones costumes this year, and that one's my favorite just because I really like the character a lot, and the costume is really warm and comfortable. I unfortunately could never wear it to Dragon Con because it's like 2 layers of wool, but I really like that costume a lot.
Gail?
I think my favorite costume this year was a group costume that a few of us did. We were the Magic Knights from Magic Knight Rare, and I really enjoyed having my Hikaru costume, and I had a fantastic sword made by Rob, by Sketch, and it wasn't the easiest costume to wear. Some of the Wonderflex didn't quite work out as I planned, but it was still just something I'm very proud of.
Cool. Shiva, sketch?
Mine was actually Umi from Magic Knights 2, like Gail was talking about, and it was really interesting because we had actually planned to make those costumes for several years, and it just never happened. And so finally we did it for KatsuCon, and then we wore them a few times this year. And it was my first time working with Warbler, which I really enjoyed, and I want to use it for other things. And so it was a great learning experience for us with a new material.
Yeah, I don't know. I never liked Wonderflix, but I like Warbler. For me, it was an oldie but goodie. I mean, I remade it last year and wore it once. I wore it again. Was my Lynx from Chrono Cross. I think what really made it was the fact that we not only was I stopped by a guy who completely loved it at KatsuCon, but I ended up interviewing him on purpose to set it up for him to ask him if he still liked it by the end of the day. And so if you go back to our old videos, that's me totally sideswiping the Ninth Doctor.
Well, since I moved across the country and started a new job and got settled in a new place, I was pretty busy and didn't get time to complete a lot of new costumes, but I did finish one new costume that I wore at Dragon Con. That was my favorite costume of the year, and that was Dr. Hooves.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was
So mad I didn't see that.
It looked good. He was properly proportioned. I mean, I have to say it's probably the best mascot head he's made.
I couldn't even see how we got into it.
Yep.
It was really hot. So at Dragon Con,
It was all felt.
I could only last like 2 hours, and then it was, and it's a lot of static because there's foam inside and stuff, and junk and stuff. But I had a lot of fun wearing it, just surprising people, and oddly, I've only watched like 2 episodes of the show. One because everybody said, "Oh, this is awesome, you have to see it." And I watched it, I was like, "All right, whatever." And then the other one, there's a Doctor Who character, so I watched that episode to see that character, and decided I like the costumes that cover my full body, so decided to make it. It looked easy enough. I wanted it for Aresia, but didn't get it done in time, so I finished it for Dragon Con. Now we'll also cover our favorite guest of 2013. My favorite guest would have to be Sylvester McCoy, the 7th Doctor. He was a guest at Gallifrey 1. And I mean, the guy is amazing. And not only is a major character in a major show, but he's just so kind to the fans. He will just wander around with the fans, and he doesn't go and hide in his hotel room like some big name stars might. He'll be up there playing the spoons, or he'll just be hanging out. And he loves talking with people. But, I mean, it kind of gets crowded around him because everybody wants to talk to him. But, yeah, and I met him once at Dragon Con, and he shook my hand and said, "You remind me of my friend Stephen Fry." It's like, yeah, I've heard that before. But, yeah, I saw him again at Gallifrey, and he said, "Oh, boy, there are mighty tall doctors around here."
Well, when you're the shortest doctor, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually was carrying my hand in a jar later, and he said, "Boy, I have to hand it to you." But yeah, he's a great guest, and I love seeing him at conventions, and I need to watch more of his episodes. What about you, Shiva? Sketch favorite guest?
Yeah, mine was I'd actually wanted to go see these people for a couple of years. Sketch and I are both really big fans of the show Face Off. And if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like Project Runway, but with special effects makeup. And
actual drama, sorry.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of that reality show, like stage drama. Their biggest drama is my boldest stuff. They actually really focus on the art. And so at Dragon Con the last few years, they've had contestants from the show, and some of our favorite contestants of the show come, and we haven't made it to their panel, and this year we finally got to go, and it was freaking awesome. Like, usually you walk into a panel room, and, the guests are on stage, and they're getting ready. They were in front of the door high-fiving us all when we came in. They were mingling in the crowd.
Frank touched me.
they were mingling in the crowd. They actually had to like drag them on stage to start the panel because they were having so much fun hanging out with everybody. And they pretty much cut to the chase. Like they basically said, okay, here's the stuff people ask us, so we're just going to get that out of the way, and then we want to hear what you guys have to say. They told really funny stories, and they gave out so much good advice for products used for like cosplayers, for adhesives, for things to block your skin so you don't break out. Like
yeah, I have it all listed here on my
And
iPhone.
he started taking notes. I mean, it was really awesome. So we had a good time at that.
I want to see that list.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we have it.
The only thing they never talked about was the adhesive they used. Anyway, we'll get to that. I think my favorite guest was actually Bill Rogers. Again, this is another Katsucon story. Bill hadn't gone to a convention in a while, apparently, and I think Funimation just said, go, and they last minute sent him in, and he just was running around having so much fun. And I hadn't seen him in a while. We're actually good friends with Bill. So I texted him, then he texted me, then I called him, then he called me, and we started playing phone tag inside the convention center, and he would be like one floor above, or I'll be one floor below, and then we would like run and be opposite again, and then come back. So it was pretty much fun. But he was just having a blast, and it's always good to see friends, but also guests just loving being at a convention and the fans. So Bill's my choice.
Gail, who's your choice?
I am a huge Animaniacs fan, and so I was really excited that I got to see Rob Paulson again at Dragon Con, and then again at Grant Comic Con. And I remember at Dragon Con he did a panel with Maurice LaMarche. They were Pinky and the Brain together, and they did Pinky and the Brain do Who's On First. And it was pretty ridiculous, but just getting to hear him talk about his work and meet and see him again, he's just such a joy to be around. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool. Elizabeth.
Mine was Jeremy Lee at PortCon, who I did Anime Unscripted with, and then I interviewed her on the last day for the podcast, and she is such a sweetheart. And even though it's not true, she told me I did a really good job at improv, and I was horrible that time. But
You did fine. You did fine.
I've had worse bombs on that show.
She's one of the nicest voice actors I've ever met, and it was really cool to interview her and get to talk to her for a little bit.
Yeah, she's awesome. I want to see her at more conventions. Get on that, people. Doug, who's your favorite guest of the year?
Does it have to be an actual physical person, or could it be an inanimate object? So honorary mention goes to Roxy the Rancor, the life-size Rancor model that they brought to Rhode Island Comic Con. Just the level of detail and like the guys who built it, take care of it and stuff, just really awesome to talk to and just super friendly and really like they had it down to a science of, oh, you want a picture? Okay, here's the best spot to it and things like that. But my favorite guest, of course, has to be Yoko Kanno. Otakon was a little scattered on handling things, but when I got in line at 7 in the morning for her autograph ticket, and getting that autograph and everything like that was kind of a highlight for me as a otaku. So seeing that and getting that was just so neat. And then her concert, once again, just absolutely amazing.
Awesome. And did you have a favorite panel or event of 2013? I suspect I know what it's going to be.
It was a concert at Otakon, but it was not Yoko Kanno's. It was actually the TM Revolution Homemade Kazuko one. That concert just had so much energy. And Homemade Kazuko, this group, they know how to work a crowd, and just everyone just felt so alive, and it was so much fun. I'm kicking myself that I didn't see them the first time they were at Otakon. I'm so glad I got to go see them again, because they just did such a great show. I'd love to go see them again.
Awesome. Elizabeth.
My favorite was at PAX East. One of the biggest booths there, one of the biggest companies there is Riot, who does League of Legends, which seems like it's exploding even more in popularity. They stole out the freaking Staples Center with their like tournament finals thing, and I don't even know. But they have a huge presence at PAX East, and they have a cosplay fashion show that they have anyone who's wearing League of Legends, which is growing and growing more every year with people becoming aware of how amazing the designs are from the game. And everyone goes, you just go up on stage for like 5 seconds, and then they have people, they take a big picture of everyone. But they give you this swag bag that puts masquerade prizes to shame. It must have had like $100 worth of stuff in it. It had a pillow in the shape of Mr. Tibbers, which is like an attack character from one of the characters. It had a gaming mouse. It had a figurine. It had a poster. It had something else I forget, but like $100 worth of stuff for just going up on stage for 5 seconds. And each day I was actually in costume was League of Legends, and they give out these codes for character skins, and I got some each day just for being in a League of Legends costume, and they're really appreciative of seeing people dress up from that game. So that was awesome.
Is that why half your cosplay to-do list now is League of Legends?
Not just because of the free stuff, but the designs are just incredible, and there's just so many champions to begin with, and then each one has like 4, 5, 6 skins that you can possibly wear. It's like ridiculous. You're gonna see so much League of Legends cosplay next year from people. It's gonna be, I think, the big new thing.
So, Gail, what was your favorite panel or event?
I think the panel I was most excited about this year was at Dragon Con. There was an eye care professional that actually ran a panel on contact lens safety, which within my cosplay safety stuff is something that I'm really, really big on. So to see someone who actually has the professional background to back up what she's saying, Candace Weslowski did this panel about contact lenses, cosmetic lenses, and what everyone needs to know if they're going to add that element to your costume. And it was great both listening to her panel presentation as well as getting to meet her afterwards and talk to her about what I can bring into my cosplay safety panels.
Cool. And Shiva and Sketch?
For me, I had actually one of the best things that I encountered was, we always talk about kind of how attendees can be annoying and have problems, and you see things that happen that aren't great. This year at Dragon Con, Elizabeth and Sketch and I and a couple of our roommates were going to go watch the parade. And if you don't know what that's like, the entire city of Atlanta, it seems like, goes to this parade. So it's really hard to find seats, and it can be like, kind of a pushing, shoving, crazy time. But Elizabeth actually saved us seats on the curb, and we probably had the nicest group of people I probably ever met at any kind of, type of convention, sitting around us. People lit people through. They were sharing water. They were sharing chairs. They were like, oh, like we were watching their kid. I mean, everybody got along so well, and it made it such an enjoyable experience. And we actually were like hugging people when we left. We're like, oh my God, you guys are so great. Like, it was really fun.
We made friends we never will see again.
Exactly. We made friends that we would never see after that, like 2 hours that we spent with them. But it made, waiting on the side of the road, which can be just miserable, a really good time. And I don't know, it just kind of made my day. So.
Well, mine we already mentioned. It's the Face Off panel. A big fan of that show. A lot of inspiring thing I want to eventually do. But again, like, the panel is great because you're sitting there and you got all these people. They tell you the inside of the show, so you look at it differently when you go see it. Like they mentioned, beware of the Franken sentences, where they take audio of their whole interview and cut up to make a new sentence, and you can tell because they always cut away while they're talking. But if you don't watch the screen, you just listen, you can hear the cuts.
Yeah, I definitely started hearing it.
I started hearing that afterwards. The perspective on who's running the show and the contestants, because some of them are actually been in the industry for a long time. They just did the show because they were trying to get it off the air. Frank was probably the most blunt out of the group. He was kind of the bad boy season 1. And it was just fun, especially like we already mentioned. Like I was able to take a lot of notes of stuff when I try to make or apply makeup in future costumes. So it was a face-off meet and greet panel, I have to say.
Cool. Now mine, it's kind of the same thing where I had my favorite moment, which, I mean, these two kind of tie together, and that was karaoke at Gallifrey 1. But not specifically for the Dalek. I mean, that helped, but the entire experience, because the cast, some cast, mostly crew, were there from Doctor Who, and they're in the karaoke room. They get up on stage and they're singing, and it's like, this is awesome! And then there was one moment where somebody requested the song "I'm Gonna Be" 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, and they said, "You're dressed as a 10th Doctor. We need you to come up on stage and lead the dance." And so I went up on stage and did the 500 miles thing like David Tennant did in that video. The whole room was singing along, tons of people on the stage. It was an amazing moment, and I normally don't go to karaoke rooms, but if I had just not bothered, none of that would have happened, or I never would have seen any of that. But yeah, it was an amazing time. I loved it, and they served drinks there too, so that might have helped. But with the good, there's the bad, and we sometimes present the Better Luck Next Year award, and we each have this virtual award that we would give out in the event somebody needs to improve something. This year, I'm giving my Better Luck Next Year award to Japan Expo USA. Japan Expo is several conventions over in Europe. They have one in Belgium, one in France, might be another one. And they brought one over to Santa Clara, California this summer. And it's clear they were expecting a lot of people. They got a ton of people over in Europe, and they had this huge space in the Santa Clara Convention Center rented out. And then the attendance was just pretty pitiful. I mean, if it was in a smaller location, it would have seemed normal. But because everybody was spread out, it seemed so empty. And the dealer's room had tons of space between all the booths, and the dealers weren't happy. A lot had packed up early. And there were a couple events that managed to fill rooms, but for the large part, it was just severely underpopulated. And I think they just didn't understand how the U.S. convention market works. And so hopefully they'll be back next year, and they'll be prepared for the turnout that they're probably not going to get. And as Doug and I were talking earlier, there seems to be a trend of large conventions starting smaller conventions and then overestimating the crowds. And so I think we're going to have an episode on that at some point in the future.
Yep. We've already talked about it.
Yep. And so, Shiva, Sketch, what about you? Presenting the award to anybody?
My Better Luck Next Year award actually goes to the Dragon Con dealer's room. And it's kind of surprising because in general, as a convention, considering the volume of attendees they have, they're very well organized for the most part. But this year, they decided to move all of their dealers, which were in various rooms in the main hotel, the Marriott, into another facility like about a block or two away, which was a great idea. It did open up space for larger panels and stuff in the main hotel. It got rid of some of the crowding. But they didn't plan out their new space really well at all. We went the first day, we tried to get in there. It was a nightmare. We actually had to leave because I was so claustrophobic and being crushed. I thought I was like going to have a panic attack, and I don't get that way very easily. They had nobody really directing traffic. No one knew where to go. There was no signs, and they were trying to loop people up escalators, and it was just a horror show. And then, so we decided to go back on Sunday. So now they had maybe like 2 days to straighten it out. They didn't know how it was going to go, and it was almost just as bad. And once you got in there, it was so labyrinthy, we almost couldn't get out. And because they had all their dealers now that were spread out a little bit in one space, it was endless. I mean, it almost got to the point where you're like, how the hell do I get out of here? I want to leave, and you just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And so
previously they were divided to like 3 spaces, so kind of like, you could hit it in chunks and not feel so trapped.
It was really kind of, I don't know, psychologically disturbing for some reason, and they just didn't organize it well at all. So hopefully next year they'll have a better kind of attack on that.
Yeah, I made 4 trips there, and each time I found more rooms for like the dealers.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere, and then you felt bad for some of the dealers who were stuck in some backwater room that you could tell people were like, "Oh, you're here," and you could tell it was affecting their business too.
I actually will add to this one. I only went to 3 cons, but so someone's going to get it. But Dragon Con gets it for me too, because they moved the dealer's room, which is great, but then they didn't label what they ever put back in the rooms. This is one of those things, like, you just didn't know where anything was. They didn't label anything. They didn't have anything on their map, on their app, that really specifically said where things were. And one of the greatest travesties was, like, the headline guests, like the really big names, Patrick Stewart, those like William Shatner, those level characters
that they put like in a separate room.
They put them in like the old room that used to be the basement dealer's room, and nobody knew what it was. They just thought it was a space not being used, because you look there's nobody in this now open space, which actually was supposed to be the control group to getting autographs with these headlines. I got to the point where like Lucy Lawless actually had to go up to the regular Hall of Fame and share a table with one of her co-stars from Spartacus.
Because nobody thought to go look for her.
So it was one of those things where it's like, Dragon Con, better luck next year. You need to advertise your changes better so people are more aware. Yeah?
For me, all the conventions that I went to this year, anything that was in control of the conventions that I experienced went really well. But I, in spite of that, actually had a really rough year for conventions. There was the trolling incident at PortCon, Maine. A bunch of my costumes didn't come out quite to my hopes. I spent Saturday of Anime Boston in the emergency room helping a friend. So if it's okay, I give my better luck next year award to myself, because I'm really hoping next year I can have a better year in conventions.
We will help make that happen.
It really ruins your weekend.
This is where we all give Gail a hug via Google Hangout.
Aww.
2014 is coming soon, and I have big plans. I'm excited for it.
Yay! Elizabeth?
Mine goes, okay, so it wasn't a bad con, but Rhode Island Comic Con needs to, if they have the 25,000 people they claim went there, which I don't believe, they need to take over. It was really crowded, but they do need to take over the entire Rhode Island Convention Center and the Omni Hotel, which is next door, and create a specific room for their guests that's separate from where all the vendors are. Other than that, it was a pretty good con. Oh, and in the foyer, when they have all like the cars and things like that, they create massive bottlenecks. They need to get rid of them. And I can hear myself in an echo.
So I'm taking it the convention hasn't changed from when I was there last year, because they had the same problems with the bottleneck with the cars. They didn't have the whole place, and the guests were crammed in the back of the dealer's room.
Pretty much.
I don't think they're going to change.
They might. Well, the rest of the facility was used by other stuff, so hopefully they'll take over the whole thing.
Yeah. I think they're on the right track. They're definitely growing, so they're going to have more money to spend, and hopefully by that token get more space.
Doug, what about you?
Mine's a 3-fer. Actually, it's or actually a 2-fer rather. It's Boston Comic Con and Granite State Comic Con, and it's not so much the lines. It's these multiple day events where your multiple day badge is just a little like paper wristband.
Yes. No more of that.
I'm sorry, if you have a pass for more than one day, you need to have a badge, even if it's a cheap one. It needs to be something you can take off so you can do things like shower. I feel like doing these paper wristbands it's encouraging people to not shower. So that's something that they need to fix.
Well, maybe if they got scented ones.
You're onto something. There's an idea.
Rhode Island Comic Con
We give people
Get-
air
had the same
fresheners.
And here's what you do: you get a marketing tie-in and have them done by Febreze.
Or Axe or something like
No, not
Rhode
Axe.
Island Comic Con and Super Mega Fest also only did the wristbands, and
Yeah.
that really needs to not happen. Get some freaking real badges. Come on.
Freaking real badges.
Well, you
Well,
also can't put the wristband in your collection of badges, so it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I went to that con and I don't remember because I don't have a badge.
Yeah, and like Rhode Island had it for like their VIP badges, which is a whole nother thing, but it just added another layer of what does this mean? And it's like, well, obviously you have the means to get the badges, so.
So, Doug, now we can bring this up to a more pleasant note. What was your favorite convention of 2013?
This might surprise people given what we said about it last year, but I'm actually going to give it to Kineticon. They turned things around so much, and the big thing was it felt like Hartford wanted the convention and wanted the attendees there. All these venues felt very welcoming. I just had a really good time at the one panel I did. The fact that if you had a convention badge, you got a discounted movie ticket at the movie theater across the street, so I could go see Pacific Rim opening night for $6 was awesome. So just to see that turnaround and seeing it on the up and up after all of the negativity that people had from it last year was so cool.
Awesome. Elizabeth, favorite convention?
PAX East. Sorry. I love it. I love video games. People complain about the lines for like the big name titles and the big name companies, but the real like amazing part of PAX East is checking out all the indie developers, both tabletop card game and video games, and talking to them about the games that they develop, not just like the bigger name titles. They don't really always have that, but you talk to people who like started this thing in their basement and now they have a company with 10 people and they're on the up and up, and you can buy the game right there on your iPhone or buy it when you get home on like Xbox Live, and it's definitely a lot more cosplay there as well, so I definitely will give it to PAX East again.
Cool. Gail?
I think mine's a tie between Katsu and Dragon Con. KatsuCon was a great convention. I don't feel like I quite got my all out of it, so I'm really excited to go back next year and see more, but it was really an amazing experience, an amazing venue. And Dragon Con's always so much fun. I loved finally doing the parade, and there's just so much there, and kind of like Shiva and Sketch were talking about, you meet these people there that they're your new best friend for, the 10 minutes to an hour that you spend with them. And yes, you're not probably going to see them again, but there's just this connection that you make with people there that's just so amazing. And I love getting a chance to have that.
And Shiva and Sketch?
Wedding Con.
Well, if that's on the table, yeah.
Hey, I thought we had a rule about ones that use staff.
Yeah, that's right. We're not going to be staffed.
So
Isn't that impolite to say we staff
Wedding Con,
everyone?
yeah.
Hey, you guys were the
I think
organizers.
it's okay.
Hey, I haven't answered yet. That's all her.
Fine.
No, WeddingCon was the best, but in light of the stipulations and the rules, it doesn't count.
It
no,
paled in comparison to Wedding Con too, sorry.
Yeah,
That was last year. That was last year.
Yeah, but it was still after a year in review, so
Here.
qualifies.
Actually, I was gonna say KatsuCon. A few things is like that convention is huge on photography. Huge on photography, unlike other ones I've been to. Even like Dragon Con, there's so many photographers. So that was kind of refreshing in a way that when you walk around, people actually are taking your photos legitimately and like professionally. Other than that, it's like the whole facility, the whole little gated community-esque the whole neighborhood is. You know, all the hotels, all the restaurants, all the offices, all the shops. You know, it really is like felt very safe being out and about. Considering previous years they were like downtown DC, and that could always be a little hairy in terms of the feels, not necessarily the actuality. But
well, because you didn't originally like it when you went years ago, right?
Well, it also was just in one hotel, and it didn't really have the facilities equipped for a proper convention. They put the dealer's room in the garage, and this is like a February con, so if they don't get the heat blasted, there's like giant cold spots. Mind you, like this was like a good 6 years in between going. But like the new facilities, I really liked it. I think it's a great area that they've developed around the hotel and the convention center there. Let's go.
No, yeah, mine would have to be Gallifrey 1.
Really?
I think I described it as a Dragon Con that was only about Doctor Who, because you've got plenty of partying at night and drinking. The guests are just milling about, and it was just an amazing time. And it was in February in Los Angeles, so the weather was decent. Yeah, I loved that con. And as soon as I left, I couldn't wait to go back next year. And so I'm looking forward to that. And at least now I can just drive there. It's going to be like 7 hours for me. But now I don't have to worry, how am I going to get K9 there? I can drive K9. And Grant Imahara stopped by the office, and I told him I was going to Gallifrey. He said he was going to Gallifrey. I said, oh, I'm bringing K9. He loves robots, so he's excited to see it. And now I have a motivation to get it done and get it down there.
Name drop.
Yeah, that was totally a drop. Grant Imahara, yeah, he came by the office. And now we'll talk about our own podcast, favorite AnimeCons TV moment of 2013. Now, mine is probably obvious because it's the feedback episode, the final episode we did from my house, and you guys are awesome. You gave me the photo of everybody, which is in my office, the plaque, and it was amazing. And I love that episode so much, and I'm glad that's on video.
Aww.
Thank you.
Aww.
They also were dead tired.
Yeah. Oh my God. So tired.
so tired.
Yeah.
Shiva, Sketch, what about you?
My favorite was our Mystery Science Theater episode that we did as our April Fool's joke, and I love it because I always love Mystery Science Theater, and we get to play with the robots, and we also get to make fun of our own episode, and I don't know, Elizabeth is Pearl, that was kind of amazing.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites too, and we planned that for like 6 months.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, and all the takes that cup.
Rob, stop moving the cups off screen. We can hear them. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We have plenty more cups if people are at a convention where we have these cups. Or Aresia, there's going to be a party, so get cups at Aresia.
Cups. Well, that one's taken, so I would say our recent episode with the real cosplay heroes. It was fun to film. We, kept on having to go back and film other stuff later, but my favorite scene was from that edit was I remember we had the photo of a Sailor Moon group, but my foot was in the corner. And it just epiphany to me when we were editing it. I'm like, use that one! It'll be great. Zoom in, point in.
Well, it worked too because before the photographer took that picture, you had gone around and you fixed everybody's bows and their skirts. So, like, you were actually doing the
I made sure there weren't any panty shots in that.
Thank you.
But, yeah, so I like that episode. I like when we do our fun episodes, too. I mean, we have to do our standard stuff, but I like the little random fun ones we do. So, here's to you.
Yeah. Gail?
Honestly, I know they're already taken, but those two are my favorite moments, both of those. I really enjoyed the filming of the handlers, the cosplay handlers episode, and also it's just such an important topic to cover. And then I had no idea what the end result was going to be until we just recently started putting it together, and even then, everyone was talking about a song, and then finally I watched it and I was like, so this is what we were, leading up to, and I thought it was really fantastic. But, who can't love the Mystery Science 3000 episode? It was just so much fun to, do a little bit of my voice acting and, play with puppets.
Variable.
Oh.
I was like, where'd Beck go?
It's Tom Servo.
Yay!
Hey, it's my co-pilot from
Bedroom.
it's my co-pilot from the trip to California.
So, Elizabeth, what was your favorite moment?
I knew all those other ones would be taken, so mine is actually it's a bunch of things. But now that we have the individual weekly episodes, we can go longer with segments. So all the cosplay tutorials that we did this year, especially the one about Warbler and the different stuff that you can do with that, and I think they've been really helpful episodes for people, I hope.
Well, according to the YouTube views, that is one of our most popular episodes. I think it might even be our most popular one of the year on YouTube. So we need more cosplay episodes. People love those.
That sounded exciting.
I do have to do the other two types of zippers at some point, so yeah.
And Doug?
Hold on a second. Right now that I finished drinking from my cup. I actually have two. The one is the one Sketch mentioned earlier, the whole, oh yeah, by the way, I'm Lynx moment. That was just too funny. But probably my favorite was interviewing Richard Epcar and Ellen Stern. Aside from the fact that I had to reschedule that like 3 times because I forgot the charger for my camera's batteries, so I had to overnight one to me at my hotel in Pennsylvania during ZenkaiCon, and I had to get that sent. They were some of the best people to talk to, super friendly. They've been doing conventions a while, so they know the drill. They know how to have fun, know how to interact with fans, and just the answers. Richard Epcar's sense of humor was hysterical. Like it was so hard not to like burst out laughing as I was giving this interview, and it was a really great time, and it's probably one of my favorite interviews I've done so far for the podcast.
Yeah, that was an awesome interview. I think the voice actors do great interviews because they're just used to talking and acting and sort of stuff. So I think it comes naturally, maybe?
Well, not to mention some of the newer animes have the blooper reels. They just go off on jokes. And I have to go, cut. No, would you read the line? We're paying you.
And so last year we made some predictions, and now it's time to see how accurate those predictions were. Now, Doug, you predicted that we're going to see more DBZ coming back. How'd that turn out?
Get back to me on that. See, the thing is, I didn't see a huge increase in the quantity of Dragon Ball Z cosplayers. Notice is you saw a lot more people really taking it seriously, like getting better quality wigs and things like that. So I was half right.
Okay. Elizabeth, your prediction was that we'll have more genre-specific or series-specific conventions and more cons going from just anime to more general. And how do you think you did?
I don't know. How did I do? I didn't really look at what happened. I know that there is still the debate at anime conventions with non-Japanese stuff kind of forcing its way in, from Doctor Who to My Little Pony to Homestuck and always the Star Wars and comics and Star Trek. But I think that's still kind of pushing in at the anime, where anime it's still kind of more mainstream than it was like 10 years ago. So I still think that it happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's going the other way. We're not seeing
No.
more genre-specific ones becoming anime. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, Gail, you said that due to global climate change, Katsucon will experience Otakon-level temperatures, and Otakon will be snowed in. Did that come true?
No, though, I mean, it didn't snow for Katsucon, I don't think. If anything, it flurried. So, Katsucon wasn't quite as cold as it has been. I don't go to Otakon, so I can't really report on that, but,
No snow.
Any
I can
ice-cold
verify.
snow, Doug?
No, only ice-cold water. Only
Dalawada.
Now, Shiva, you said that the re-release of Sailor Moon will cause a schism between old and new fans. How's that fight going?
Well, the new series hasn't come out yet. It's been delayed. So maybe that will still happen next year.
All right, and Rob, you said the new release of Samurai Pizza Cat's box set will cause a revival that will cripple the anime industry.
Yeah, I haven't even bought it myself. Santa?
And
Yeah, that was one of those things. Yep. Nope. I don't think that many people went for it, which is a shame. It's a good series.
my prediction was that my favorite moment of 2013 will be Nerdtacular. And while you've heard my favorite moment of 2013, and I didn't even mention Nerdtacular until this statement, because I didn't go to Nerdtacular.
Wow.
Because I lost a bunch of vacation days when I started a new job. Newtacular was awesome, so I've heard. There was part of Night Attack Live was recorded there, and lots of awesome stuff. They did this live streaming, and I caught some of it, but maybe next year I can go. I don't know. We'll see. Now we do have some predictions for 2014, and my prediction I actually made in a movie theater roughly a month ago when I saw The Hunger Games Catching Fire. And that is that Hunger Games cosplayers will clog the Atlanta Marriott Marquis elevators at Dragon Con doing photo shoots. Because if you've seen Hunger Games Catching Fire, you will recognize the hotel as the hotel, the place where they put the contestants in the Hunger Games up to stay. They actually shot it at the Marriott Marquis.
Funny story. Coming back from KatsuCon, Gail and I were on the train, and someone like a row ahead of us was watching the movie Flight, that Denzel Washington movie, and I just happened to see out of the corner of my eye, something's also shot at the Atlanta there, very out there. So apparently it's a popular spot for movies.
It is a weird-looking hotel. I mean, it looks very futuristic if you shoot it right. I must say, because of the Hunger Games thing, I'm glad we did not get the hotel room there this year. We usually stay at the Marriott for Dragon Con, and we lost that lottery this year, but I'm kind of relieved because that elevator is going to be a nightmare.
The only thing I was curious, I haven't seen the movie yet. Did they actually change the carpet?
You never see
the
it.
carpet.
No.
Yeah.
There's some pictures from the next movie that they've been filming. They're filming again at the Marriott Marquis, and it looks really cool if you guys want to Google it.
Yeah, I saw a video of some guys coming down in zip lines or something.
Yeah. It's for, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's actually something that didn't happen in the book. You only hear about it, so I think
Yeah, I
that's
haven't
pretty
read the
cool.
books, so...
That's why I didn't say anything.
And, let's see, Sketch, what's your prediction for next year?
My prediction is that T-shirts will finally go to just having one series on it instead of crossovers, because it's going to be so saturated that every single crossover will actually have happened.
That's adorable that you think that.
So many.
So, Sketch, what shirt are you wearing right now?
A crossover shirt.
Yeah,
2014 hasn't happened yet.
I just got a Portal Bioshock crossover shirt last month.
I saw that one. That was cool.
I'll be wearing that on the plane home on Saturday.
Is that the one with them falling in the sky? You sure you want to wear that on a plane?
Whatever. So, Shiva, what about you? What's your prediction?
Well, other than the fact that I still think the Sailor Moon thing's going to happen once the series actually comes out, I also think that we're going to see this more kind of absorption of convention culture into the mainstream. And I mean that, like, when we started doing this, people didn't know people even did stuff like what we did. They're like, you do what? You go where? Why would you do that? Where now we got things like the Heroes of Cosplay reality show, whether you think that's good, bad, or ugly, people, you know about us because of it. You get all these references to going to Comic-Con, like in mainstream TV shows now. Like, people, like, you know, celebrities joke about going. Like, it's become almost this normal thing that people do a few times a year, is go to like comic conventions and things like that. So I think you're going to get more of this kind of mainstream thing, and maybe as a result, more like A-list celebrities are going to end up going to some of these things because they've realized like the marketing potential of it. So I think we're going to see a little more commercialization of our hobby.
It's
Do you
no
mean
longer
like
special.
Do you mean like outside San Diego Comic-Con? Because that's already bringing in the A-lists.
Right. I think that that's become like the kind of centerpiece for it, because that's what people refer to. But as people get familiar with that kind of thing being things that people do, and that's not like a weird, unknown kind of way to spend your weekend, I think we're going to see more of that at some of the big conventions.
Cool.
Gail, what about you? What's your prediction?
Well, right now, anyone who is at all affiliated with the costuming cosplay community probably has seen a significant increase of glittery blue fabric on their news feeds. It's not just a fad, in my opinion. I think the most popular cosplay of all year is going to be Elsa from Frozen.
Yeah, I can see that. From what I've seen, oh man. Elizabeth, any predictions?
So that's going to be like the 2014 version of Jack Frost.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Mine is kind of the same as mine from last year. It's actually more specific. I predict that a big name anime convention, something like in the top 20 of attendance, will officially become an all-genre convention. Either they'll announce it for 2014 or they'll announce for the future in 2015 that that's going to happen.
Oh, bold prediction. All right. And Doug, what's your prediction?
My prediction is that there's only going to be one Otakon Vegas after 2014.
Ooh.
We'll have an episode.
And we're going to have more stories from people of what they did in Vegas besides the con.
So,
Keeping your expectations low.
is your convention report from Otakon Vegas going to be anything like your convention report from Zenkai Con, where you just talk about what you ate?
Ouch. Ouch. No, it won't be just what I ate.
It's funny because it's true.
I promise I'll include what I drink too.
Oh, okay, that's better.
Doug, how about if the con stinks, you have to do something really scandalous in Vegas and report on it?
Maybe. We'll see.
All right, that wraps it up for our year in review. That's been 2013. It's been a busy year. A lot of changes, for some more than others. We've had marriages, job changes, moves, and all sorts of craziness going on. And who knows what next year will bring. Who knows what we'll be doing 12 months from now when we're saying how wrong we were in our predictions. But
I'm not going to be wrong. No, not at all.
All right, yeah. Well, I know I'm going to be right. So
Sketch is never wrong about anything.
Oh, why did you say that?
But for those of you watching, there's a whole bunch of conventions coming up for 2014, even more than ever before, because number keeps growing. And here is our list of the conventions for January and February 2014. So this is our final episode of 2013. We're taking next week off, but we'll be back on January 6th. We're going to stick to the Monday schedule. And guys, congratulations on not missing a single week in 2013. We always had episodes out on time.
Woo.
And we went to HD. We offer an MP3 feed for people that just want to listen and are missing all this cool stuff that we have on our screens. So yeah, it's been a big year for the podcast. A lot of changes, but we've already got like the first 3 months of 2014 planned out, including our 100th episode. Seems like this past year we did 50. But that's going to be something special, I think. And then who knows what we've got coming. We've got con reports from Otakon Vegas, SAC Anime, Gallifrey 1. We've got stuff that's going to be shot at Aresia with cosplay photography. And then we're going to have another feedback episode in a month. So send us your voicemails. Call us at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. Let us know what you thought of 2013. Leave a 30 to 60-second voicemail and tell us your favorite moments or least favorite moments. Just keep it brief, not an hour that we've run. And, yeah, let us know. And you can subscribe to us. We've got all the links at AnimeCons.tv, just this subscription link over on the side, and just you can subscribe through iTunes and everything. Just search for us. We're also on Twitter and Facebook, and we're on Tumblr now. That's a new one. So it's animeconstv.tumblr.com. And you can send us email at podcast@animecons.tv. Mention the voicemail line, and or just comment on our YouTube videos or whatever. Yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody in 2014.
It's the Golden Gate Bridge. What? Hey, this is where I did episode 2 of the Chibi Project.
The end.
That's my line.
I don't have a prediction at all. So
Make it up. Make it up.
yeah.